Hey, there we go.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hey, how you going, guys? You good?
Good. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, I
Yes.
hear you perfectly. You hear me
Okay,
okay?
good. Yeah, I can hear you guys fine. You guys must have a good internet connection.
Yeah, well, we're at the studio right now.
It should be good.
Hopefully
Okay,
it's good.
yeah, it should be okay. So, guys, when was the last time we seen each other? I think it was at the summit, right?
Summit. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was
this
the
summer
summit. Yeah.
in
Was the
January.
summit this year?
Were you in
Like,
Australia when we were there?
yeah,
Yeah.
ooh, I was in Australia when you came, Adriano, because you came on your own once,
Yeah.
and then I'd been in Europe. The previous years, so I missed you guys when you came like afterwards. So I missed you competing in the solo, Adriano.
Hmm.
I wasn't there for that year. I was in Europe, but then I seen you guys like this year. I think I seen you in January at the summit when you guys were competing.
Yeah, well, we didn't compete this year, but we were there. We were there with some students. Just
Was it the
January
year
2020.
before you competed? Oh yes, yeah, of course. Yeah, I meant the year before. My bad.
Yeah. Sorry, it cut.
I was saying it must have been the year before. It was 2019 when we were there. Adriana was
Yeah,
competing in solo.
2019.
Samantha, you were competing in solo, and then you guys also had your on-tour routine.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So, guys, how has COVID been like in Montreal in Canada? How's it been for you guys?
You wanna go ahead?
It's been tough. It's been tough. I think it's been rough for everybody around the world. It's obviously something we're all dealing with together. So it's brought up some new challenges. Luckily, we've reopened, and most businesses have reopened in Montreal a few weeks ago. So our studio has been open for 2 weeks now for private lessons, and obviously smaller stuff is definitely impacted um, everything from our performances, the way we run our classes, our traveling. Everything's kind of come to a halt. So
Hmm.
we're just learning as we go, day by day.
So, do you guys still have social distancing rules in place? Oh my God,
Yes, right
Anya
now.
joined us. Hi, Anya.
Oh, hi, Anya.
Yeah, I didn't even look at this.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to get your camera flipped. Sometimes it's
I
easy to
can.
get like just like
Oh,
so into the conversation that you miss
Oh,
like
that's
who's
fine.
coming up. It's okay. I do it all the time. So, is social distancing still in place? Like, are you guys just doing shines
Yes.
classes or okay,
Yeah, right now, yeah.
only shines for now,
Yeah, for now,
yes.
yeah. No
Yeah.
okay,
choice.
and then
They're
and then
actually
when
they're actually talking right now in our province to make masks obligatory in all public spaces.
Mm.
okay, wow,
So yeah, it's still going on here.
Yeah.
yeah,
How
because
about for you
because we
guys in Australia?
in Australia, like we're doing really well. We've just had a spike in the south of Australia in Victoria, so they had a big outbreak since they eased the restrictions, but the rest of the country is doing really well. Like, I think we've only had 107 deaths so far, which is like compared to some other countries, has been
Yeah, it's
really
not that bad.
like the massive difference. Yeah. How is Canada going? Because we see so much about the US, but nothing about Canada.
Well, it's still quite high in certain, like in Quebec anyway. The amount of infected people is quite high,
Yeah.
but the death toll is not as bad as well. I'm not up to date with the precise numbers of right now because that
That's okay. I
keeps
won't
changing
press you
every
for them.
day, and I kind of had to like stop watching the news for a little bit and just like, okay, let's try to live a little normally for now and see how
Yeah.
that went. And yeah, I think the anxiety of it all, I think everybody's kind of dealing with their own type of anxiety towards the situation, and the uncertainty that really lies with all of this is what well, it scares me anyway. I don't know if I'm speaking for other people, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel that way. um, but yeah, uh, I hate the situation, obviously. I think everybody does, but
Mm.
it's just what it is, and we got to try to make the best out of it. But it does suck. It does suck, especially for the industry, and uh, the fact of not being able to have that human touch and like being able
Mm.
to ask someone to dance or even to go to a bar now. It's like certain things are so frowned upon that it's changed so much that it's fine. Obviously, we have no choice. We're gonna get through this together, but at the same time, it's still very shocking and a lot to handle.
Mm.
Yeah, that's just how.
It's challenging because I feel like dancing doesn't really fall under a specific category. Like you have sports and then you have arts, but dancing can be like a combination of the two. And we have a lot of trouble in Australia defining what category dance falls under. Does it fall under a sport? So that means when gyms go back to normal, like dancing can resume, but then it's also an art and they're not as supportive of it, I find.
Yeah, well, what's kind of weird now, that's what I find weird is what's going on here is that bars are reopening and stuff, and you know, it's okay to go to a bar, it's okay to have a drink. Masks may become or are going to become obligatory soon, but the dancing is really frowned upon. So when you see that in the news and in the streams, and I'm like, it's just like, I just feel like we're going back to a time where dance was like something horrible, and that it was like, yeah, it was like a sin, you know, like, and anyway, it's just crazy, something that we love and adore and really brings out so much good out of people, and to see that being taken away from us to a certain extent is what's a little unnatural, I would say.
There's definitely some inconsistencies with their rules and regulations,
Yeah.
like involving dance.
Yeah.
How are you guys like? Are you guys still dancing together? Obviously, like
Oh
in the
yeah, of course.
studio and at home.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of at first, at the beginning of the quarantine, we were sending out all the choreo that we had to do. We were quite overloaded before we got quarantined. So we tried to finish up as much of the choreography work that we had to send out to all of our students. Like when you did your solo with me, like stuff like that, all of our private clients and stuff that we had to finish work for. And then it was quiet because we weren't allowed to open. So we literally had to close our doors and nobody was coming in and out of here. We had actually just gotten back from Los Angeles. We had filmed for America's Got Talent. And we passed that first round. And then as soon as we got back, we were on tour with the TV show that we did locally in Montreal. And the tour was set out for 40 dates, 40 representations. And then that got shut down that night as soon as we flew back from LA, and then we had to quarantine for 14 days right after that. So it was just a lot at once like when it first happened. But yeah, that was that situation.
So are you guys still teaching online? Like, do you have some sort of an online setup, like classes or privates?
Yeah, we had started doing that, and we were doing that as much as possible. Mainly privates, though. I didn't open a group class right away because I really wanted to wait up to start back in my own studio, and I wanted to run it that way. And yeah, now we're finally open again, and our teams are coming back. Obviously, we had to like, I'll show you, our studio is all set up now.
Oh, a little tour.
Well, set up. We put the tape on the floor because we had no choice. The mirrors. And yeah,
so for those of you just joining, this is Novera Productions in Montreal, Canada. This is Samantha and Adriano's studio.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we did for now. We really wanted to. There's just something about having our students here in person. Like, again, I'm not into the conspiracy or anything like that. It's just mainly the effect that it's had on us as a dance community, and that's what I feel is so different. Like to have to do this as an example, right? Like to have to put tape on the floor and distance people away from each other and stuff. I just find it a little unsettling, and I really think that we have to stay optimistic to, it's going to get better, and we're going to go back to a time where we can go to a congress with thousands of people and enjoy ourselves and just dance and not worry about any of this that's going on right now. But I'm really optimistic, and I'm very hopeful that it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to be. If you sort of wallow in self-pity about it and get, like upset and depressed about it, it's not going to help. Has this situation, like, so obviously you guys have to make plans about how you're going to reintroduce classes again. Does this mean like Samantha's just like pumping out lady styling content and you're going to be doing like men's shines classes?
Well, we have different projects, right? So we're going to take it step by step. We will eventually, we're just waiting a little bit because it is still a little bit taboo here with the partner work and stuff. But eventually, couple classes, there's nothing wrong with that right now. If you're already a couple and you come in,
People live
Oh, of
together.
course,
people
yeah.
live together already and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of catering to what you're able to do right now. And I think that's the main thing that all businesses are doing. I think every business was affected to a certain extent where they had to say, okay, how do we deal with this? How do we proceed? What are the procedures that we're going to use, and to make it safe and, you know, comfortable more so than anything else for your clients to come in and feel like they're at a place that still feels like home, but with a little bit of changes, like Purell when you get in, and tape on the floor and things like that, which are still unnatural. But at the same time, what we have to do right now to stay the code and do what we have to do to be okay.
I would love to talk a little bit about your competition aspirations and also your competition history. Like obviously you guys are multi-world salsa champions, like in your partner divisions and in your solo divisions. Do you guys have any more plans to compete like in professional divisions in the future?
I think so. I don't think I'm done. I haven't really been thinking about it so much right now. We've been so focused on getting everything else together, and you know, having stopped for 3 months was a big stress too. Having closed down the business and everything, so we've been mainly focusing on our business to be able to continue and figure out, okay, how are we going to do this to make sure that, you know, after 5 long years of working so hard, we won't have to close these doors. But that's kind of the situation that we're in right now, and the path that we chose as artists as well, because we chose to sign a lease and have a studio and have that aspect of it, and not just the traveling. And you know, we just did it that way, and it comes with a lot more responsibilities, obviously. And you know, we just gotta deal with that right now, because that's literally our future, right? We've chosen to be dancers at 100%, and right now it is what it is, right? So dance kind of comes last, right? We're really lucky to have the clients that we have, and to have a studio that is like a family. A lot of our clients that come in, I see them all the time. I see them almost more than I see my parents. And yeah, because they're so dedicated. And I really love that I get to share that with people from here locally. And it's a really nice feeling to get to do those one-on-ones and really see someone grow and follow their dreams in what they want to do with dance, right? So anyway, I feel fortunate for that, and I'm just happy that we're able to restart with them and get things back on track.
You had a men's team, I think, Adriano, in one of the recent competitions. But I don't know if Sammy, is there a ladies team, you know, in the pipelines for the future
Right
or something?
now, she has a ladies team. I don't have a men's team right now.
I usually always have 1 to 2 ladies teams at the studio, but they don't always travel with us, especially to the summit, or they'll do Canadian or local events. So I think that maybe that's why you haven't seen them yet. But yeah,
I have to come to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or we got to bring the whole.
Well, it's because not all of our like, we don't oblige it, and our teams, we're very open with that. Like, everyone could be here for a different reason. Some people just come to train, and some people come to get on stage, and some people are willing to travel, and some people are less willing to travel, depending on their line of work, their availability, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes with teams, it becomes hard to bring everybody abroad. We try our best with whoever is willing and able. But yeah, that's it. But if not, we have a lot more stuff that goes on in the studio, obviously, that a lot of people from the outside or internationally don't see what we're doing locally, and vice versa, right? When we're in Australia, maybe they'll catch a little video clip of our workshop, but our students here don't necessarily know what's going on there, right? So it's kind of like that.
So in regard to what divisions you pick when you guys compete, so you guys do salsa on 2 and you guys have your solos, is there any plans to branch into other styles? Because I also know you did salsa teams cabaret one year, which was like incredible. Like Team Canada was like show-stopping. Like you guys,
It was a beautiful experience.
And the fact that you put that routine together whilst you all lived in different cities, like, and in such a short amount of time for like the biggest competition in the world, like this is incredible. Like, do you guys want to keep pushing in like the mambo direction?
Absolutely. I think it's definitely what we love the most. We really both love doing partner work, and we love the on two division. Mainly just the just dance aspect. We like doing tricks, obviously, but we've never trained it as much. We focused on our dancing from when we were really young. We were really into those just dance divisions.
It was also always my dream to win the on two. Like it just meant something to me from when I was a kid. I would watch Oliver, and it's true. And I've told him so many times, even when I was in Australia, like I would watch him dance, and I was
inspired,
super inspired.
How was it for you to compete against him? Because obviously, like I remember you saying that he was a massive inspiration for you, and like you're saying now, like you watched him as a child, watching him compete, and then like 10 years later, you're on stage with him competing against him. How did that feel?
It very mixed feelings, because it's so hard. Like you want to win, right? Because you're in competition. I believe that any competitor goes into it with that ambition, and at least you should, to try to do your best more so than anything else. But I don't know. It wasn't very, for me. I felt it as a nice moment. Yes. Stressful too, because you're in the heat of a competition. For myself, regardless to who I'm competing with, I don't base myself on that. I base myself on myself and my showcase and what I'm gonna do, right? And that is what stresses me out more so than who I'm against. But yeah, I felt good about it. It was a beautiful experience. It was a beautiful experience because I really admire him. So it was just nice to get to do that. It was a pretty tight competition though between us.
You, Mario, and Oliver, absolutely. Like I think if you start naming names about people who have done well in that division, you guys are one of the top three names that would come up in that conversation. And then in an event in Australia, which is like in the middle of two oceans where no one really goes for salsa events, you have one of like a history making moment between three of the best salsa soloists like in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, where did that happen? It happened here. Like, happened up the road from where I live.
I know.
It was an awesome night. I was there watching, and it was just amazing to see the three of them, one after the other, sharing that stage. It was the energy in that room was incredible.
I bet. So in regard to competition, like how do you guys go about preparing? Like obviously your routines, you can get like a year out of the routine. So if you go to this competition and then 3 months later you've got the next competition, so the routine will mature and you'll become more familiar with it, and you may change things based off feedback that you get in previous competitions. Before you guys do like Summit, for example, how many months preparation before you guys take the stage for the first time?
Oh, I would say at least minimum 6 months of already knowing where I'm going with my routine and like having it somewhat established, and then working on it with coaches at different events. If we're at an event with one artist, then we'll get privates and see what they think, and we continuously train and try to get as many third eyes as possible to really just see what we're doing and just see if they have any advice for us to make it better. And then we always put together our own routines, obviously, because we want to keep our own essence, and I want to feel the music. We choreograph a lot of pieces, so I never wanted to change that. But we still go out and get coached and to see what other people have to offer, and maybe one little part could be such a little thing like a one bar, and it changes the rest of your routine, and it helps you and it makes you feel good. So I definitely think coaching is super important on so many levels.
And the more you can get of it, the better. It's the more people that everybody has kind of something to bring to the table. So it's super important to constantly train and never give that up. And we usually do, before the summit, we have the Canadian National Championships that are in October. So that's usually where we break the ice with our new routine. So we'll compete with it there. And then that still gives
Jennifer O'Coin was on before. I don't know if she's still with us, but
she was.
she
Hi,
produces.
Jen.
she produces the event here, the Canada Salsa Congress. Yeah.
And is that a festival and a competition, or is it purely a
Yeah, it's both.
competition?
It's both.
Cool.
It's one of the biggest events here in Canada. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
so
city?
A lot of Canadians go there. Like you guys, Harold and Regan, let's say.
Of course. Yeah.
They're there with us all the time. And that's usually where they also break their ice for their routines.
Right. Okay.
So it's like us Canadians breaking the ice before we hit the world stage.
That's quite a nice analogy given where you live. So if in regard to chasing coaches and like tracking them down when you go to congresses, like, so obviously you have your own solos and you have your partnered routines. So like Sammy, if you need a female instructor or coach's input, who would you seek out to help with your solo?
Obviously, depending on where I am, if unless I'm doing classes at a distance, but it's usually better for us to have that one-on-one time with our coaches. So depending on who's there with us at certain events, we'll try and make the most of that time. But for me, I'll usually obviously get the input of some of the judges, so people like Anya, Tamara. Obviously because they have that experience and the knowledge, and they're the ones who we're trying to impress, right? And trying to get that approval, so to say, when it comes to competition. So we'll train with people like that as much as we can, and whenever we get the opportunity to do so.
And Adriano, who would you seek out for advice on your solos?
Samantha. I'm serious.
Yeah, I believe you. I'm sure that you guys help with each other. Like Samantha, are you super critical of his solos?
Sorry?
Is Samantha super critical? She's like, nah, change it.
No,
or is she really
critical.
supportive?
She really just helps me get to. Sometimes I have ideas and stuff, and she just helps me sort it out, and she helps me stay focused and on track, and that kind of helps me get to my end goal. I feel like that she's helped me a lot, 100%.
But I mean, I feel like that goes both ways for us. We choreograph everything together, so whether it be a team routine or a solo, men or women, it doesn't matter. We'll usually ask for each other's input and work on things together. For us, it just works better that way.
I enjoy her presence while I choreograph. I'll say that.
That's really sweet. I think a lot of couples aren't as comfortable with each other in that setting, like, because obviously, like, you guys teach together, you have a business together, you are together, and then the training and the rehearsing and the traveling is all together as well. You guys are literally together the whole time.
Pretty much.
It's a lot. Anyone who dances understands how much that is.
Yeah, and it's a process.
Definitely.
It's a process. This has been over 10 years for now. So for us now, so it's we definitely have our moments. It's not always easy, but at the end of the day, I think we're super lucky to have each other and to have found each other at a young age, and to go after all of these dreams of ours together and build something for ourselves really from the ground up. And I think we're lucky to have each other in that sense.
Absolutely. And plus, like, I can't imagine your disagreements being that awful, because Canadians are like the sweetest people in the world. Like, I could bump into you and you would go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, excuse me." Like, that's how sweet Canadians are.
Yeah.
But we have that Italian blood in us too.
I was just gonna say that. That Italian blood, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you. Okay. So what about male influences, Adriano, for your solos? Because obviously, like, you've done professional solo 3 times at Summit consecutively, and you've won each time, which is incredible. And that's not like a walk in the park at all. That's one of the most competitive divisions that the Summit has. So who were the most influential people for you building that momentum?
Okay, well, as for inspirations, I have so many. Rodrigo, Adolfo, Tito. Like, there's so many amazing men that I look up to, and I respect so much. And they definitely inspire me, all individually in a certain way, just because I admire their style. But at the same time, your job as a competitor is to try to be your own, right? So I don't try to base myself on what they do. Like, I've had I got to spend a lot of time right before we started winning our championships with Rodrigo, and that was such a big help. And lately, let's say the few times that I got to train with Adolfo, I didn't get to train that much with him. But the times that I did, I really tried to take as much advantage of it as possible. Even in Australia, let's say Adolfo was there and he was teaching his masterclass, I'll show up and just take the class because I want to see what he's doing because I really like it. So it depends. Like everybody's like, there's so many other dancers as well, like Franklin Diaz and Frankie Martinez. We have really, really, really good male dancers in the salsa community. Not that we don't have female, but for myself to look up to, I'm saying. But yeah, what was the question again? Now I feel like I drifted off.
Who do you seek out for your competition, like mentorship or coach, like the coach stuff?
Honestly,
Like,
I don't get a lot of coaching on my solo stuff. I usually do it a lot myself. I've had Anya look at my stuff, Tito and Tamara as well, but like they've helped me a lot on when I wasn't like my mental state as well, like making sure that I was producing the right energy at the right time and like making that expression come out that maybe wasn't there at a point, right? And working those type of things, those fundamentals that make such a big difference on the outcome of your routine. But yeah, I've to get coaching. I haven't gotten that much coaching on my solos. I can honestly say that because I just didn't take as much time to it because we would focus a lot more, let's say, on our partnership, and our solos were always kind of secondary. It was like, we're going to compete, but okay, we'll do a solo because we're there and might as well do it and get the most out of it and try and push ourselves as much as possible. But if not, our main goal was to dance together and to keep partnering, right? And
at the same time, I feel like when we're getting coaching, even if it's on a partner work routine, you know, what you end up getting out of those sessions is so much more than, you know, just a correction of a couple of steps or maybe a turn pattern that's a little different. It's really, it goes so much deeper than that, you know. Like he was saying before about either the mental state or how you're actually preparing or how we're connecting as partners, if we're on the same page, if you know, if all of those other things are really in check. And it doesn't always come down to the dancing. Sometimes you get other help that maybe you weren't necessarily seeking but that you really needed. And so for us, we try and bring that knowledge or those skills that we acquired during our training into all of our
and I feel like
projects.
when you're really dedicated to your dancing, the people and the coaching you need just come because you're setting it out there, right? And you have an objective, you have a goal, and then these people start surrounding you because you've chosen this for yourself, and just I feel like things align itself at that point. And it really, I think it stems to your own dedication towards it, right? And I've seen this with amateurs as well, like the growth that you see with some people because they've taken that decision and chosen to really get better at this and focus so much energy into it, and you see what a difference it makes, and they get surrounded by the right people to bring them to that next level too, right? So it happens for us the same way. But yeah, that's what I think.
There's a good question there by someone who was viewing. I think it's Christian. He's asking, what are your thoughts and opinions on people seeking advice on their competition routines from judges before they compete
I think
at
that's
a competition?
Maybe not during the event. I know that once an event starts, or mainly once a competition starts, you shouldn't really be bothering the judges in that sense because they do have a job to do and they're not supposed to kind of help during those events or during a competition. But anytime before that, there's never a limit as to how much we can learn. So go out there and get all of the training that you can from as many people who inspire you, as long as there's something about that person or that
it doesn't have to be a judge.
It doesn't have to be a judge necessarily. You know, there's only 20 dancers on that panel at most. There's many more professionals out there and people that have so much to offer, right? So I think our advice would
But
be
I
to,
definitely don't think there's anything wrong with going to get coaching with judges, because I think that ultimately,
I think that's
if
necessary.
they're judging, they understand the judging criteria, and sometimes that could be subjective to a dancer who's not in competition. It doesn't mean that they don't have the knowledge to judge, but having the experience is something else, right? So I think that it's important to go and seek help from as many people as possible. Yes, the reason why we choose to go to the judges is because you want to know what you need for competition if you're a competitive couple, right? If I was a showcasing couple, then maybe I wouldn't. But I still respect those people on a dance level where I just want to take classes with them, right? I genuinely want to take a class with them. So I feel like you shouldn't stop yourself because of a label of them being a judge or not beforehand. If you want to train with them a week before or a month before, it's what matters is the day of. You got to show up and you got to get in your dance shoes and you got to burn the floor. You know what I mean? No one's going to do that for you, right? So I think that being open to the help is the most important part, because I've seen so many dancers internationally, and the more you travel, you see how some people are skeptical about training and that really have so much talent and would be able to do a lot more with their dancing. But I feel like I saw my biggest growth was when I was learning, right? And so many great instructors say it all the time. The day you stop learning is the day you stagnate and you will never continue to grow, right? Why is Fernando Sosa still as crazy as he was when he was 20 years old, and if not crazier now? Like, why? Because he just doesn't stop, right? And I think that work ethic shows no matter how old you are, no matter where you are in the world,
or your background.
Nothing matters at that point. It's just your dedication to it and how hungry you are to succeed and to get better. And all of that is what I think is really important. Yeah.
It's absolutely true about Fernando. Like, I lived in Italy for off and on for the last few years, and I was like training at Sosa Academy, and he's insane. He's like 44 or 45 now, and there's a park next to his studio with gym equipment in it, and you'd be on your way to the studio sometimes or walking past for coffee, and Fernando's in the park doing like pull-ups and dips and like push-ups and like and you know, you're only just getting out of bed and going for coffee, and this guy's already up, driven to the studio, training before he has like training sessions with his team. Like, he's super inspiring from the way he balances his work life and his family life and his personal life, and also he's still at the top of his game. Still,
Of
like,
course. Yeah, no,
yeah,
absolutely. That's
yeah,
why I use him
really,
as an
really
example.
impressive.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
total
Yeah, very good
inspiration.
example. You guys find yourself in a position now, I imagine, I'm sure it's the case, where a lot of people are coming to you now to seek advice about competing and performing and getting better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just with our choreographies that we send out, we coach a lot of couples, a lot of soloists.
hmm
And not just with that, some people just come for training. And when we go to events, like even while we were at Summit this year, the fact that we weren't competing, we still taught so many privates to a bunch of people. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. We want to share our knowledge too. At the end of the day, we live off of this, and our job is to share this information. And I love to do that. And it's nice to be able to do that. Like, there's the performance aspect of being a dancer. If you're an instructor and if you're a choreographer, I really see it as three different roles, right? And for me, I love all three of them. I feel like we've been abandoned of performing, but hopefully that comes back soon. I really miss it. I love getting on stage. I really enjoy it. But yeah, the performance aspect is one thing, but just the choreographing for our students and just coaching them, even if it's on another choreography or just general dancing, body movement, just seeing someone get better is something that as an instructor, yeah, is super rewarding. Absolutely.
You guys come out every year with new routines, multiple routines, and you guys always have really nice costumes. How do you guys go about deciding on a costume for a comp?
Oh, that's Sammy's favorite part.
Well, definitely one of my favorite parts. Absolutely. I do. I do a lot of research. I love Pinterest, and I love looking up costumes from different dance styles, ballroom, samba, belly dancing, all kinds of stuff. It's just I've always loved it. I've always been interested in that. So for me, I just love looking at pictures and then trying to.
And I love that she loves it. So because that totally relieves me of having to research costumes, and she's just like, I think this is gonna look really good on you, and I'm like, that's perfect.
I also am really lucky to have a really good costume designer. Her name is Mireille Saint-Hilaire. She lives just outside of Montreal. She's been making my costumes since I was about 12
14.
years old.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
12, 13
Wow.
years old, yeah, from when I started. So my first team routines and everything was made from her. So she's really good, and I'm super lucky to have her. And yeah, we just
she's always executed anything we've wanted. She was really good. She was really good.
She's making your costumes as well, Adriano?
Yeah, she makes all of my costumes. She makes our sets, our solo costumes, everything.
Amazing. And so, like, if someone wanted to improve their competition or their competitiveness, if a dancer wants to improve their competitiveness, what advice would you give them? Do you have like 3 tips for competitors?
3 tips for competitors for their competitiveness.
Yeah, how can you become a more competitive dancer?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think that starts with within. Some people are more competitive, and some people are less competitive. Some people don't like competition, and I feel like the dancing aspect obviously doesn't need to be competitive, right? It's a choice that you make, right? So establishing that choice is the first step. And knowing your commitment, right? Why am I competing? When yes, you can just showcase it and not have someone judge you, right? For me, it was always the goal. I can definitely say honestly, winning was my goal. I set it as a very clear goal for myself, and I wasn't going to stop until I did. And even now that I have won multiple times, I will still push myself to maybe compete again, right? And why once you've won, and you don't really have to prove anything, but it really stems to yourself. And if you really want,
love it, right?
I enjoy that adrenaline. I enjoy putting myself up on the line and saying, you know what, I may lose tonight, but you know what, I'm happy because I'm doing it, and this makes me feel really good. And I love the adrenaline that it gives me, and it's like a drug, right? A good drug,
a healthy one.
But yeah, but it is what it is, right? And I think that's the beautiful part about it. If you enjoy it, and then if you don't, then it could just not be for you. And that's okay.
So there's definitely that part of establishing why you do it, and making sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And then, a couple of other tips. I think it's really important when you're getting into a competition to understand what it is that you're getting yourself into exactly. So the criteria that the judges are looking for, making sure you really understand the rules and what's required, what's not required.
That's any competition.
Yeah.
Right? Because some competitions it might be an open competition, right? You get there and everybody can be like, knowing your rules is super important in any competition.
Because we've seen it many times, with students
where great couples get disqualified or any things like that.
Or you register
or they lose points for too many tricks or lifting someone off the ground, or there are lots of things that get overlooked. They think we'll just take a routine here and we'll do this.
Knowing your rules in any game, regardless of competition, is always an advantage.
It's super important because you're going to start off with a goal in mind, right? And so in order to properly achieve that goal, you need to follow the rules sometimes.
Be curious. Be curious. Why? If anyone who knows me knows I ask a million questions. If I don't know something, I'm going to ask you a million questions. And the reason being, that curiosity will eventually answer a lot of questions for you. But if you're not curious, then you should ask yourself, how much do you really want it, right? Because someone who really wants something is gonna be eager to understand more, right? So if you're really that competitive and you really want to achieve something, then you need to create that for yourself and get that invested into it, to make sure that you're curious enough to go and get all this information, and be available and be open that maybe you don't know certain things, and maybe you're going to discover certain things, and just be open to it and go and get that information, because that's what's going to make you a better dancer and a better competitor, ultimately. Right?
Yeah, and then finally going out and getting that information and making sure that every day you're working towards your goals. You know, it's about putting in that work and making sure that you stay disciplined throughout, and there's going to be moments that are harder. There's going to be days where you won't feel like training or feel like going to class, but you need to remember why you're doing it and stay focused and committed to it.
Do you guys have to motivate each other sometimes if someone's having like an off day?
For sure.
How do you guys do that?
How do we do that? Samantha yells at me.
I knew you were going to say that.
She yells at me and I just get scared. So I just like, okay, I'm going to go now.
So that's definitely not the Canadian influence. That's the Italian influence.
No, that's the
taking
Italian
over
blood.
there.
No, but look, I really do feel like Samantha does motivate me a lot, and I feel like I do as well. Like we have a great partnership, and the level of understanding, I think a lot of people can't even imagine, because we've been together since we were little kids and we've grown up together, so we really know we know how to push each other's buttons as much as we know how to we know how to understand and communicate, and we've gone through our periods where it was a lot harder, right? And as a teenager, when you don't understand that level of communication you need to be able to sustain a successful relationship, not only as a business partnership but as a couple and as a dance couple. So it's just been a bit of everything, right? So we kind of know how to deal with that now that we're at a certain age and we've matured a lot more, and the business helped us grow so much, and kind of made us grow up a lot faster, I feel, because of that sense of responsibility. But yeah, I feel like at this point we do definitely motivate each other, and we help ourselves set out for what we want, and we're both very ambitious, and so far it's been working pretty well for us. We're happy.
How many hours per day or per week would you guys train? Say like you're leading up to a competition.
It really depends. Like towards the end before comp, I really just run my numbers. I don't even focus on very small details. I just hardcore running it, sweating, and just dancing, because ultimately that's what we do. Once you've choreographed something, you know what you got to do. So you just dance it out and try to get as much feeling and emotion out of yourself while you're practicing. So by the time you get to the stage, you're not forcing yourself, and it feels natural. Everything that you're hitting with the music is just right on, and you don't even have to question yourself about it while you're on stage. And that's what I like to feel, and I really feel like I only get that once I really sweat out my routines. That's when I feel good about it, because there's times where I perform and I don't feel good about it because I didn't work it long enough, or it's just not there yet, right? And that's okay. And that's normal. And I think you still got to perform it anyway and get through it so that you know how to work through that too.
Definitely. I feel the weeks leading up to competition, like he said, I don't even think it's about the amount of time that you put into it at that point. Sometimes we'll have more productive rehearsals if we do an intense 45 minutes of just running it and repeating it and going over our stuff over and over, instead of, doing a 3-hour rehearsal where we're working details, but that all depends on where you're at in the process. Obviously when we're in the creating phase, we'll just
put on the music and dance, and
and
let's see if something
those rehearsals tend to be a lot longer, right? Because we're kind of just going with it and
you're
creating
brainstorming at that point,
right?
Like your rough draft.
When you guys rehearse and when you're training people to run their routines before a competition, do you typically start slow, like really slow? Like, do you have an app for music where you slow down the routine and then really like step by step?
I try not to do that right away. Like sometimes if it's necessary, depending if you're talking about my students, let's say if they need it and like they want to go 2% or 5% slower.
We have a 10% rule, so we never go
Yeah, I'll never go
lower
under 10%.
10%.
Really? Why is that?
Because we find when our students start learning at a very slow tempo, it takes them a lot longer to eventually reach that 97% if that was the goal, right? Depending on the song, obviously, because some songs are even at 95% are still almost undanceable because they're so fast. So that obviously depends on the tempo. But if a song is like a medium tempo, let's say our student is projected to dance it at 100 or 98%, we'll usually, even if they want to start it slow, we won't go under 90%, just because we feel that it takes them a lot.
I think that push is what gives you that. Okay, I gotta be on. I gotta be on. And then if there's something that's not working, that means that you have to literally stop the music. Because if you're dancing it to music, that means that you know your routine. You know where's your cross by lead and where's your inside turn and whatever combination that you're gonna do. But I feel like once you get to the music, that has to be registered already, right? And it's choreography at that point, right? You're not just freestyling. So I think you should be already at a point where you can run it with your music, right? Even if it's just a section at a time. But know your section so that when you push play, you can do that section at 95 or at 97, whatever you're able to do. It doesn't, or 90 even. Just that when it starts getting too slow, it starts, because chances are, depends how fast your song is too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it really all depends on that.
But in general, we try to keep it in that range just so that you don't get too used to too slow.
And sometimes you end up kind of developing bad habits when you're learning something too slow. And when we choreograph, we make sure that we always do our job at 100%, right? So that we know that the choreography that we're giving our student is
going to work at 100%.
It's
right?
achievable.
Like I have to be able to do it at 100% for someone else. I can't give you something at 100 and you're only able to do it at 90, let's say. You know what I mean?
It has to be feasible.
It has to be feasible.
So we make sure that it's feasible, and then we work between a 10% range for the tempo.
This is likely why you guys are so fast. Like I interviewed Billy Fajardo a couple of times over the last month, and then when I was with him in Miami,
I miss Billy
for one of the competitions one year, and I was talking about you, Adriano, and he's like, "Oh, the kid's got quick feet. He's really fast."
Yeah.
And this is probably why, because you don't dance your routine slow. It's always fast.
No, but again, it all depends your goal, because you could come out with a slow salsa, right? That's a lot of times competitive salsa is usually faster, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't dance salsa slow, right? So it's just that. Right, we just push ourselves, and a lot of our students that come to us that are going into competition are there to compete, right? So we try to push them, and if they pick a song, we try to keep it as much as possible in that range so that it pushes them to achieve that, right? And we'll always go with our students' level as well. We're never gonna give you something that I know is physically impossible for you. You know what I mean? But yeah,
I had private lessons with Oliver Pineda 1 year before competing at the summit, and he goes, "Okay, put your music on and slow it down 40%." And I was like, "What, really?" And he's like, "Why are you laughing? No, 40% minus now. Do it." I was like, I thought he was joking, like minus 40%, like that's unheard of, but everyone has a different way of doing things.
Absolutely, but there's no right and wrong at the end of the day.
No, absolutely not.
Someone prefers to do it a certain way.
Here's the thing: dancing slow is also, personally, I find dancing slow much harder than dancing fast, right? Because you need to be so much more
you need to fill all that time.
Right, and be so much more in control of your movement, which is often where the hard work is. We can mask some of that movement with speed, right? You can get away with certain things.
Or you can move really fast.
Or you can
never forget that option.
That's the option we try to.
That's the option I try to sell. Okay.
So how many competitions does Canada have per year?
Canada has Montreal, which is in our city, the Montreal Salsa Convention. They have Toronto, which is Canada Salsa Congress, it's called, which was Jennifer, who was here before. Eric and Kelly, who are also very much a part of the competition scene. They have an event in Calgary, which is the Calgary Salsa Congress, and they host also competitions at their event.
Those are the three, I think, longest running events in Canada.
Yeah.
That are hitting that 20-year mark. So those
Wow,
are pioneers for us here in Canada in the Congress and competition scene. And obviously there's smaller competitions in each city.
Yeah, locally there's definitely club competitions
here in Montreal,
stuff like that.
in Quebec City, in Toronto there are many. So there are, but those are three.
Or mini festivals or mini like little events that go on. Socials here are like almost, they were going on every day, almost, at least throughout Wednesday to Sunday, very easily. But I would confidently say Monday to Monday.
You can social dance any night here in Montreal. Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID,
yeah.
Maybe Monday and Tuesdays were a little slow at some point, but in the summer you could literally go out anywhere and social dance in Montreal.
We have a really great salsa scene here, and it's super fun, and we miss it.
Hopefully it can return like as they start easing restrictions, but it's just one of those things where you have to wait. In regard to the competitions that Canada has, are the rules all like fairly similar across the board, or do you find you need to change aspects of your routine or the length of your songs for each competition?
No, the song length, we always try to keep our routines around that 2-minute mark, and usually most competitions are not too picky about it being between 2 and 2.5 minutes. So usually our songs are never really a problem. More rules. Sometimes like Montreal Salsa Convention here in Montreal is usually an open competition, so you're technically allowed to do tricks. We don't compete here anymore. They actually they removed the professional division here. That's why Samantha and myself were competing mainly at the Canada Salsa Congress. We've competed also at Eric and Kelly's event in Calgary when we were there. But and usually we just do our nationals in Toronto because they have, it's one of the biggest competitions, especially for professionals.
That event is really like a mini summit. They have a lot of divisions, especially for the pro-am and the amateur divisions, but for professionals as well. So we get to compete there in our just dance divisions, and there's the cabaret divisions, and obviously the different dance styles.
And there's also been a lot of times that they get a lot of other international couples that have come down to compete at the same time for it. So there was a point where it was still very exciting, and it still is very exciting, don't get me wrong. But it was just nice to have that in Canada, is what I'm saying.
And the rules are generally, I would say,
very similar to Summit. But it depends the division you choose, obviously, right? So like solo is solo. You're allowed to do whatever you want for that minute and a half. But the couple thing is where sometimes it may be open, sometimes it may not, and that's it. And we adjust ourselves accordingly, but we obviously try to stick to our professional on two division.
Did Team Canada, the salsa cabaret routine that you guys did that get a small like pre-run at one of these congresses before you guys took it to the summit?
Oof, good question.
Yes, but
no, not before Summit.
Yes, we did it in Toronto that year, but I feel like the routine changed dramatically after that event.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
It was our first run was there in Toronto, I think, and we were pretty much a hot.
We're back.
Hey, we're back.
So where were we? Harold throwing girls in the air and saying, "No, this is fine. It's normal."
That was a beautiful experience. We all for that project we all flew to Winnipeg, I think once or twice.
Is that where Harold and Regan are?
Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of easier for all of us because you had us on the East Coast and then Patrick and Scarlett all the way on the West Coast in Vancouver.
So it was kind of like a central point for all of us.
And Anna was also from Winnipeg as well.
Winnipeg as well.
They had.
And then Mario was in Edmonton.
Yes.
Right. So we kind of just all met there.
And they were already partnering. Mario and Anna at the time were already partnering. So
It
just made sense to go to Winnipeg. So we ended up going there. But they had to also come to Montreal at a point. I think even during the convention, we saw each other. We tried to make time at any event. Any Canadian event that we were all booked at or already
even if
working.
it was just two couples or whoever was there, and we kind of just practice or try and choreograph another section until we finally got that 1 week where we all met up in Winnipeg to solidify the routine and get in a couple of shows as well.
What was it like working with like other Canadian professionals? So obviously like they're your countrymen, so you guys have this sort of camaraderie between you, because you guys would compete and see each other at all these international events, not only the Canadian events, but then each of you are also sort of specialists in your own divisions. Like obviously you guys in your solos and your team, not your team, your couple routines, Mario with his solos and his same gender divisions, Harold and Regan with Bachata Cabaret. So what was it like for all of these like professionals to come together and work together?
Well, at the time, what I think the rest of the world didn't see is that we were all competing in salsa against each other. At the time, Harold and Regan were still doing salsa. Patrick and Scarlett were always our competitors for that time period, as well as Mario and Anna. So we all really were competing against each other while teaming together, right? And we were all very aggressive competitors, aggressive in the sense that we were very committed to it, to the point that we were, competing against each other and willing to compete together just to go out and, showcase it, right? So I think that takes a certain type of person, and we were just 8 people that fit the job to do that, right? To compete against each other and to compete together. And I think that was a challenge for everybody, because at the end of the day, you need to learn how to deal with that, and you need to learn. For me, it was a great experience, and we really pushed ourselves throughout that time. And look, it was the first time that we won a world championship was that year that we committed to doing that project, and I feel like it definitely made me more confident when I took that stage in 2017 to win my first 2 world titles. It really gave me that confidence, because I was already competing with them. We were together. We were competing in the same division, but it pushed me. It pushed me in a good way, and I really respected them. All 8 of the dancers, I really respect them until this day. I still really do. And that's it. I just feel like that experience definitely pushed us in a different way, and just made me a better dancer in that moment, because we had other people next to us that were equally talented people and great dancers. So at the end of the day, it was very easy to be inspired and to want to do great things. And I think when that bug gets in you, and always with a good intention, and I think that's what that really makes you succeed, is that you're getting the push you need. And that's the point of competition, right? And if you're really able to deal with that properly, I feel like you can play that to your advantage and make that fire burn in you to go and get something and do it well, And
we were really a good group. There was really a great environment between all of us. I remember that summit, and for us, it was super stressful, competing in the On 2 that year, and it was the first time we actually placed in the podium after the semifinal round. That had never happened to us before, especially not at the summit. So, but at the same time, we were able to share kind of that stress and that adrenaline with the team. And so that was a really, really amazing experience, because as much as we were against each other in that competition, we were supporting each other so much because of the fact that we were competing in the team as well. And that was what was really nice about it.
Well, different from 2018 and 2019 when we competed on our own, right? It was just a different, 2017 was a different feeling because of how much more we were doing, right? It wasn't just me and my solo and me and Samantha. It was the team as well. So it's that too. So, like when Fausto does that as well with the movement. doing his bachata, and you know what I mean. So it's a lot, and you don't realize it until you actually do it. And for us, building a choreo at long distance, and and having to get together, like let alone doing this when you have a dancer schedule, let alone try to get dancers locally together is one thing. But then when you ask them, because Canada is huge, like we can't even drive. Like saying driving to Edmonton is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it was always a big plan, right? Like we had to plan out, okay, where are we gonna fly? Where are we gonna meet? Where are we gonna stay?
How are we gonna cut costumes done?
Everything was a big challenge.
Whose idea was it to first come up with like a team concept?
Whose idea was it? Whose idea was it for that? To be honest, I don't really remember. It wasn't me.
Oh, you guys could be at a congress and you're all sitting around after performing and having a drink, and it's like, you know what, we should do a routine. Yeah, we should do a routine. And then Team Canada was born.
Yeah.
It was born like that. I remember being in a hotel.
Yeah, well, we were all competing already, and I think Anya had made a comment to us at some point.
We were all in somebody's hotel room at some point. Anya was definitely there, and it was just like, okay, we're all here. Shouldn't we do something?
It just
together?
felt like it was supposed to happen. I don't know. It was just. It's hard to explain when things like that happen. But yeah, it was definitely at a congress, exactly like how you said it. Like,
yeah,
we were all together, and somehow the idea came out. I don't remember.
Some of the best ideas happen that way, hey?
Yeah.
So what about a future Team Canada? Like obviously, like Patrick and Scarlett have had a baby, and now Harold's got a baby on the way, and Mario's moved to Australia. So the dynamic is a little bit more different now. But do you think there'll be another Team Canada in the future?
Well, we don't really know what's to come. Like you said, everybody's doing different things and on different routes. Right now, Samantha and myself, for the last couple of years, have been very focused on our line of work and our congresses and our stuff at the studio, and trying to balance both, and doing that as well as the TV show we did last year, which this year we were nonstop. We had those 40 dates were in 2 months for the tour that we were on, and
in 2 months.
Yeah. 3 months.
Wow.
2.5, 3 months.
Yeah. We had double scheduled dates. We were doing 10 shows per show, and and 2 shows sometimes per day. So it'd be like performing 20 times in a day. It was crazy. What we were doing right before was really hectic. Amazing though. I loved it.
Yeah.
Being a part of a production is quite different from a congress. As much as I love congresses, don't get me wrong, there's nothing better than a salsa congress. But it was really nice to experience this type of theater dance project that we were doing.
And the TV gig also got us a lot, just different opportunities coming our way. And
like AGT was a different opportunity that we probably wouldn't have gotten without being on the local TV show. And stuff like that.
All of that being said, we're definitely open to another Team Canada Part 2. We don't
eventually,
I think
I would love to see another Team Canada routine.
Yeah, hopefully one day. Hopefully, we just gotta set out the time to do that.
Yeah.
Or maybe once the babies grow,
that's
junior Team Canada.
So what about social dancing? Like I've never been to Canada, but I've been to the States and a few other places. So if I was to come to like Montreal, where would you guys take me social dancing?
Well, the center of the city is a place called Espace des Arts. Okay, it's basically a dance.
Did you just say A after you said the name?
Sorry.
Did you say A after the name? Is that like a Canadian? This is the name, eh?
Yes, it's a very.
That's the first time it's come out in this interview.
No, but I was saying a dance studio.
Oh, right, okay. It sounded just like a Canadian, eh? How's it going, eh?
I know what you're going for.
Okay.
Alrighty, mate.
Brilliant. Okay. So in the center?
So in the center of the city, there's a spot called Espace des Arts. It's a rental studio basically during the week, and they host events downtown Montreal. And there's always different events. Sometimes it's bachata events, kizomba events. They rent out the space, and they have their own social that they run called Baila con Gusto on Thursday nights here in Montreal. And that's a really I would say a hub for salseros and bachateros and kizomberos, that a lot of people go there to go and social dance, as well as other clubs like 649 is a Latin club. There's a bunch of different Grand Studio. There's a lot of French here. We speak French in Montreal, so a lot of the business names are in French. So Le Grand Studio, it's a huge club that we have here. We're excited to go back.
But you gotta come to Montreal.
You gotta come to Montreal and check it out.
We'll take you.
I would love to. I would love to check it out.
Yeah.
Canada's on my list. Do you guys have a congress in Montreal as well?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, in May.
In May.
In May.
May 21st ish. Yeah.
Okay. And this is like winter, right?
No, not then.
No,
May is like spring.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay. Oh, yeah, of course, it's Northern Hemisphere. Yeah. So it's going to be relatively warm. So it might be like Australian winter.
Yeah,
probably.
Pretty much. Yes. By then.
Okay.
Well, May is still a month that you never know in Montreal. It could be really cold or it could be really nice.
But generally, that event happens on Victoria Day weekend, which is always like 3rd to 4th week of
around the 21st.
Right. Yeah. Around the end of the month 19. Of May. So it's usually one of the first really nice weekends where it's starting to feel like summer.
Nice.
Those nice weather.
Okay. And are there any other places? Because obviously you guys travel a lot. So where do you guys love to travel to, like from a dancing perspective?
Where do we love to travel to? Where do we love to travel to?
Yeah, where do you love to travel to for dancing? Like if you're just going to enjoy, or for a congress, or if you're going for a booking for work.
I absolutely love Australia, by the way.
We love Australia.
Hint. No, I'm joking. But
no, bro, seriously, if you guys come back and I'm here, like this is for you. See that over there?
Oh, yes.
I'll take.
Yes.
I think I owe you. Yeah, bro. Yeah, just south of Brisbane.
Wow.
Yeah. So jealous.
So
we really wanted to go this year. But unfortunately, we just miscommunicated for the visas. With Carlos and Ellie, because it is very strict in Australia to be able to get artists there and stuff. So it was just we didn't specify that we wanted to stay a bit longer, so we weren't able to. Right, we had no choice but to leave. But I really wanted to come down to the Gold Coast, especially it being my second time coming to Australia. I was super excited about going to the Gold Coast, and then my dreams got crushed. But that means I just have to come back. I need to come back.
Yeah,
I need to come back, and that's it. We need to
come back and like at least spend a couple of weeks. Hey, like do the congress and then have like a couple of weeks.
Hey, I heard the A.
I'm trying to make the transition easier for you to come here so you can understand me, and then for me to go there, people will understand me.
I love it. Brisbane is beautiful. Like honestly, like, and we've traveled a lot, and we did quite a bit of congresses the last year in 2019. We did Ecuador, India, New Zealand, Australia. Like we were doing a bunch of stuff in the States. But I really loved Australia because it's a lot like Canada, but way warmer and a lot more deadlier animals and reptiles. Yeah,
but you guys have bears. That's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I know, but you have like tarantulas and snakes and
yeah. We have bears too, but they're smaller and cuddlier. Yeah. You guys don't get snakes in Canada? Snakes or spiders?
There are, but they're not like
they're like, not as deadly as
Australia. Yeah, Australia has some of the most deadly, like even when you watch shows like us in Canada, when we think Australia, we're like, oh my God. Like I think I was having a conversation with someone yesterday and they were like, I was talking about actually precisely that, going to Australia and whatever, and my experience. And he was just like, oh my God, I would never go. I would never go because I can't handle spiders and people have this idea that like you're gonna get attacked by something when you get to
Yeah.
Australia, like a
You get off the
crocodile
plane
is
and
gonna come out of the plane and like bite you. So yeah,
yeah.
but I honestly loved my experience there. I really enjoyed it. The weather's beautiful.
The people, the food,
People,
everything was great. We loved it. New Zealand as well. We really enjoyed New Zealand.
beautiful countries.
Yeah,
Beautiful
they're
countries.
they're like
That's
an
what I
even
love
more
about when we
polite
go.
version of Australians.
We're really. Oh, sorry.
They're like an even more polite version of Australians.
Polite version. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful country. But yeah, like I obviously when we travel, I really enjoy going somewhere that's a lot warmer than Montreal, let's say, because we only get a really short period of time. So when we came to Australia, for us, it was winter, right? So I'm going from
Oh, of course.
I'm
Yeah.
going from minus 30 to plus 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, oh my God, just that
Paradise.
just that is paradise. But yeah, but there's so many great events all over the world. Like even going to Las Vegas for us was fun. Like so many different places.
What's great about our scene is that I feel like no matter where we go in the world, social dancing is great no matter what. You know, obviously certain countries are, you know, either dance more on one or dance more on two or dance more casino, but you know, everybody dances and everybody enjoys the same music and everybody's there for the same reason. So what's really interesting is that wherever we go, there's that, we feel that sense of community and we feel like we belong, right? So that's what's...
Yeah, we say it all the time when someone like picks us up from an airport and you're like, you know, you're getting into a car with someone you really don't know. It's like Uber today, right? You don't really know someone. But the one thing you don't get with an Uber driver is that you can start talking about salsa, right? So you have that thing in common automatically from the moment you get to your destination. And that's something that's unique that a lot of people don't understand. But you live as an artist, let's say in the salsa community, is that, you know, you get in the car and you can start talking about Hector Lavoe and the guy's going to be on the same page with you.
And you immediately feel like you're part of this new
or
family.
how long have you been dancing or whatever, but you have that thing in common. And
it's quite a profound connection because I don't know, like I can't think of other examples where it's like that. Like obviously in very niche sports, like I think about the Olympics and they have that Olympic village which turns into like a sex festival after they've trained for 4 years and like, but all these people that go through the same thing, you know, and then exactly like you said, you guys, you might not even speak the same language, but you guys speak like 4 languages, English, French, Italian, Spanish or something like this, right? But like you can go to India and whoever's picking you up in the car dances salsa. So they're like, oh, the social dancing's really good at this place. We have to go here afterwards. Like, so you have that connection with people that you've never met before.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you, what makes a good social dancer for you? So if you're all social dancing at events, like what for you makes the best social dancer or really good social dancers?
Who enjoys himself the most. That's
number one tip.
Social dancer.
Samantha?
For me, I think just someone who's present, you know, someone who I feel like is dancing with me, that there's that connection and there's a connection to the music. It doesn't have to be super complicated. I'm fine doing basic steps for a whole 5 minutes, but as long as, you know, somebody's enjoying themselves and is, you know, I really feel is there and dancing with me and not, you know, scanning the room or just, you know, in their own world, then I enjoy it. I know some people.
I think it is about that though. It's about those 3-4 minutes, whatever the song is, of just
feeling
connecting
the music and trying to connect with your partners.
There was a tiny lag there, guys. It was, I think with the last part we got was when Adriano said it's for those 3 or 4 minutes of the song.
Oh, yeah, you went on for a while after that.
Sorry,
like,
it paused.
You're like 30 seconds behind, man.
Basically, just, you know, being able to connect with somebody and connect with the music and, just enjoying those minutes and that moment together. You know, whether
so if you had to give people advice about becoming better social dancers or improving their social dancing, how would you advise them?
Well, number one, it obviously depends on your level, right? And that's why, like, any girl that I will start dancing with, I'm not going to start with a triple spin. I'm going to start with a basic and a cross by lead, and then you establish a level of what that person can handle. You know what I mean? I know that not every girl is going to be like Samantha, let's say, where I know I could do certain things with her, or I'm not going to try them, and I'll stick to something a little bit more basic, but doesn't mean that I'm not having as much fun, right? And that's what I think she meant by I can do a basic for 4 or 5 minutes, because if you're really into your music and you're into your movement,
I mean, the basic step is the best one.
Yeah, right? It's the essence of the dance. So if you could have fun with that one, then, you know, then the possibilities are endless, right?
But I think my advice to social dancers would just be to do it, you know, and to not be afraid. I know that a lot of people starting off in the scene, I mean, I felt that way when I started dancing. Is the first couple of times you go out is, you know, you kind of want to stay in your own little corner and just watch people, because you're afraid to make a mistake or to, you know, do something wrong. But it's improv, it's social dancing, so there's no, obviously there's proper technique and less proper technique, but I feel like the way you get better and the way you're able to adapt with new partners constantly is just by
and being
doing
able
it.
to improvise your own musicality. I think that's really fun, and that gets you going a lot. If like for me, that becomes a different type of competition. Like you just going on freestyle,
Everything's
right?
a competition with
no,
it.
but not a competition. I mean, like, you could compete against yourself to be better and more musical in the moment, right? And sometimes you don't know the song, so it's really hard to do that. But when you feel it coming and then you hit it and you're like, oh my God, I just did that, and I had no clue that was really gonna be there, but it happened, right? And that's a beautiful feeling too, right? And it's really rewarding.
So don't stop yourself from social dancing. Go out there and dance with everyone and have fun and relax. And, you know, remember that nobody's there to judge you. Oh, showing them our pillow.
It's backwards because of the camera. I can read love. Do what you love.
Do what you love what you do.
Yeah, good message. Do you guys have Jack and Jill in Canada?
We've had that before. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little less popular now.
Yeah.
But we do.
I remember at one of Billy's events, which was the IHSC, we used to do that, and all the pros.
That was the best Jack and Jill we've ever done.
All the pros would get together, and
Billy would judge it.
Yeah, it would be judged. It was serious. It wasn't like a Jack and Jill, like let's have a party and go crazy.
Yeah.
It was really like, who's the best dance couple, random dance couple, because you weren't allowed to compete with your partner, and it had to be. And there was some professionals in hustle and in salsa. So sometimes I would be with, let's say, a hustle dancer, and my hustle is not as good as my salsa. Sam is pretty up there, though. Sam can hustle really well.
I love hustle.
She looks beautiful dancing hustle, I have to say. But it's true, though. I'm being honest. So yeah, but anyway, it was just was a really fun experience for us. And just watching all the pros get together, and that whole like not being a pro at one of the dances makes it really like intense, because some people are gonna kill their hustle, but then you're gonna see them a little bit weaker in their salsa, and then you're gonna have the ones that are killing it in their salsa, but then their hustle, right? But anyway, yeah, that was one type of Jack and Jill that we've done, but
because they have something similar in freestyle at the summit. They have like the triple threat.
The triple threat.
Yeah. So salsa, bachata, and cha cha cha.
Yeah.